From Trump Tower to the Trump tax cuts that the liberal media doesn't want you to know about. Also, crybaby Canadians, big news there. And Democrats heard screaming at each other down Congressional Hall. I'm talking about it all right now here on American Advocates. Oh, it's no surprise when it comes to the liberal left mainstream media reporting on anything good that President Donald Trump is trying to accomplish. They like to try to remain silent or to at least diminish what he's doing. But right now, it seems like they're just not willing to report on this amazing tax plan that Trump has proposed at all, and for good reason. The Democrats for years now have been trying to establish a narrative that, first of all, taxes are normal and that citizens should just accept paying them because they're good. And second of all, they've also tried to establish a narrative that Republicans are not for the working class. However, according to Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, that can't be further from the truth. Trump's new tax plans, as we all know, is not just apparently no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security, but there's a lot more to it. They're now going with the slogan, middle class, no tax. And Howard Lutnick is not shy about forcing this message to be put out there. Watch how he handles this CBS Special Reports interview. Check this out.
How about we, you and I, and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal.
The more I hear Howard Lutnick talk, the bigger of a fan I become of him because, well, he's discussing enthusiastically things like my personal finances. It's great to see. And if you needed any more evidence that party lines have switched as of late and that the Republicans are now on the side of the working middle class and liberals are just off in their own universe, that clip's a prime example right there. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and if you make under $150,000 a year, no tax at all. They're running with the slogan, middle class, no tax, and I absolutely love it. You got to imagine liberals are freaking out over this. This goes against their hardworking narrative that they've built for decades now. Decades of time put into this, and the narrative's being shattered by President Trump and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick. On top of that, the liberals can't think of anyone other than themselves. They are full-on Trump derangement syndrome. Their party's in disarray. They're completely disheveled, unorganized, trying to resist everything, whether it makes sense or not. And that leads right into our next story with this possible government shutdown looming. Chuck Schumer flipping on his previous position of rallying the Democrats to vote against this stopgap spending bill and allowing a government shutdown to happen. Check out this clip right here.
I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country, to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
And why is Senator Chuck Schumer flipping on his position to shut down the government spending bill and now deciding to vote in favor of the spending bill and fund government? It's because, once again, the Democrats are now in this tricky position where they're having to fight against their own narratives that they've been establishing for decades. It's always been the Democrats who have cried, whined, and complained about government shutdowns, saying that they are one of the most evil things that can happen, terrible for America and the American people, and we should never allow a government shutdown ever. And they're always saying this when it's the Republicans who are sort of causing the government shutdown. Now they're in this tricky position where they want to oppose President Trump at any cost. They want to do everything they can to oppose him. But opposing him in this circumstance means shutting down the government. And now the Democrats realize that they will look like absolute hypocrites and fools if they follow through on this. At least the older Democrats do. Chuck Schumer realizes this. Not everyone does, though. Not everyone is thinking this way. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is in full favor of a government shutdown. She's blatantly spoken up and said so. Check out this clip.
Chuck Schumer, I guess the Senate Democratic leader, your senator, said at this meeting that he is going to vote for cloture. He is going to vote to allow there to be a simple majority vote. You think that's wrong?
I believe that's a tremendous mistake. Yes.
Why?
I think, well, first and foremost, the American people, if anyone has held a town hall or has seen what has been happening in town halls, American people, whether they are Republicans, independents, Democrats, are up in arms about Elon Musk and the actual gutting of federal agencies across the board. This continuing resolution codifies much of this chaos that Elon Musk is wreaking havoc on the federal government. It codifies many of those changes. It sacrifices and completely eliminates congressional authority in order to review these impulsive Trump tariffs that he's switching on and off.
And apparently this divide amongst the Democrat Party can be heard manifested in the form of screaming and shouting down halls as they scream at each other over what to do with this. Chuck Schumer is in a tricky position here. Truthfully, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. I think he understands that, and I think he understands the best outcome is to just keep government funded, and that's why he's made the decision he's made. Now there's calls for him to be primaried. The problem is his seat is most likely safe, as there's just not enough constituent power from some of these other officials to even get some sort of action going against Chuck Schumer. Moral of the story is, the Democrats are in complete disarray over this. They're destroyed. They don't know what to do. Their party's in steep decline, and they're very out of touch. You can listen to everything Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said there and realize they just do not speak for the American people anymore. Doge's approval rating continues to be higher than its disapproval rating. Even though its modern approval rating currently, as of right now, might be at 47%, the disapproval rating is at 46 or 45%, and it's always stayed that way. A lot of Americans are in firm support and approval of the Department of Government Efficiency weeding out corruption. And it's a joke for her to say this, in my opinion, that this bill removes all of the necessary protections to make sure that the American money is being spent appropriately as designated by Congress. I believe there's been massive fraud and corruption happening from within our government for decades now. Doge is exposing that. We're not here to vote against Doge. And now for some crybaby Canadian news. Today, Justin Trudeau formally resigned from his position as Prime Minister of Canada. Mike Carney is set to be sworn in, and Justin Trudeau gave his last final message to his fellow Canadians. Take a listen.
So proud of Canadians. I'm proud to have served a country full of people who stand up for what's right, rise to every occasion, and always have each other's backs when it matters most. This may be my last day here in this office, but I will always be boldly and unapologetically Canadian. My only ask is that no matter what the world throws at us, you always be the same.
Justin Trudeau didn't walk out that door without setting up an amazing professional photograph session, though, of him doing what he's become most famous for in both Canada and America: crying. New Prime Minister Mike Carney was officially sworn in this afternoon as well. He is now the Prime Minister of Canada. He's known as an economist up there, although by all accounts from what I've heard, he's not going to be much better than Justin Trudeau was at the position, at least according to conservative Canadians. So may God bless Canada. I'm sure they're going to need it. Now for our final story of the day. Yesterday, Trump Tower was invaded by hundreds of protesters, apparently Jewish protesters, wearing shirts that said "Not in Our Name." This protest was done in the name of Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbian University student who recently sparked up a lot of controversy after being detained by U.S. Customs and Immigration officers for leading anti-Semitism riots, as well as promoting groups who are officially declared as terrorist groups here in America. He's also been known as an anti-American advocate. Some people, including these protesters, clearly feel that he has a right to his freedom of speech, while in America, although the official policy constitutionally on this is people who have their green cards can be deported for reasons such as this. These protesters were eventually rounded up by police, with 100 or so of them being arrested and transported away on buses. But that's going to wrap up the news for today. It was a crazy one yesterday. We'll be watching for more news to report on, as Senate is expected to come to some sort of vote by midnight tonight on whether or not the government will be shut down. Stay tuned for that, and subscribe for more daily news updates right here on American Advocates.